Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad to hear this cold morning. It's going to get colder. Our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin Road and Highway 77. Run by, check out the programs they have there. Listen, high today is going to be 52. That's the high, and low tonight. They're calling, it started like 32, then 31, but right now they're saying the low tonight is going to be 28 degrees here on the coast. And you folks inland are going to be colder. So I can already smell a lot of fireplaces, smoke and all going on, and I know a lot of y'all be wrapping up. So be ready for that cold weather. Water temperature stays at 67 degrees. Now the river readings, take a look at our river readings. The Apalachicola at Bluntstown, it's not going to be affected that much by the rain. It's reading this morning at a 4.7, but the one really affected, you're going to see it going up already. It's going to shoot up. The Choctawhatchee at Caryville is at a 4.4 and going on up, and just according to how much rain they ended up getting in South Alabama, you'll see some high water on the Choctawhatchee, not that much on Apalachicola right now. Now I'll take a look at our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home and Cemetery, and their motto is when caring counts. Looking at today is the 27th, the day right before Thanksgiving. Not much tide, just a neat tide today and tomorrow, but Friday and Saturday it'll be picking up with good tidal flow coming on then. Our marine forecast now, we're calling for northwest at 15 to 25, so it's going to be really strong, windy, and it's going to be cold. So not a great day to be venturing outdoors, but if you get a chance, I know some of y'all will be going, and a lot of y'all will be, like me, be cooking that turkey and getting ready for a big day tomorrow. We'll take our break and be right back in the studio with our special guest. Welcome back, folks, and welcome Captain Ken Paramore.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Been a month already.
It's been a whole month. The time flies by.
It does go fast.
And we're sitting here talking about getting ready for Thanksgiving, and we're about there. So
it's a day away.
And I guess some of you guys have to work on Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah. That's our 4-day gun season up here.
Yeah.
So everybody kind of gets that first spurt to go out and take the rifles out or the shotguns out and run dogs. So it's weather dependent, of course. A lot of times, looks like it's going to be cold, but it's kind of the first burst up here for hunting with guns and dogs, and it's usually a busy weekend. So we'll have about everybody available out, and some of them will be working overtime.
Wow. I know. Listen, you watch the show a lot, and I appreciate you watching. And a lot of times I get these letters from the viewers or these emails about. You want a clarification. I know y'all get them at your office all the time, too.
Every day.
Well, they ask me
Phone
too.
rings every day.
And if I can't answer, sometimes I know the exact answer, but most of the time I like to defer. And the other day we were talking about a situation about a gentleman that was in a small boat and out there fishing in the bay, and a big boat came by and sort of was rocking his boat, and he grabbed a hold of a piling. Now, I understood the piling wasn't even connected to the dock, but he just sort of held on to it. So he wasn't, for safety. And he said the lady that lived there come running out on the dock and just raising Cain at him. Now, she was going to call the law and all that. Did he do anything to break the law? Tell us, sort of clarify that for us.
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is why can't we all get along?
That's true.
Obviously, she didn't have much else to worry about that day, in my opinion. But as far as the legality of it, he broke no law.
Okay.
The water bottom belongs to the state of Florida, and the water belongs to the state of Florida. And unless he climbed out on that dock and got on her dock, which was probably put in by a permit, which means it's her dock.
Yeah.
That would be trespassing.
Yeah.
But fishing around one, under one, hanging onto a piling next to one is not illegal.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we have there's a state statute, it's a little known state statute, that if you interfere with a hunter or a fisherman, you can be charged.
Really?
And I'll give you an example of when I lived in South Florida and worked around Fort Myers, we had a case where some guys, and everybody knows, a dock attracts snook, redfish, trout, sheep's head, you know, and their structure. You know, they're just like anything else, their structure. And they're popular in South Florida to fish around at night under lights, and I guess up here too, depending on the time of year and the weather. But down there, it's pretty much, you know, 365. But this boat, these guys were fishing, and they'd go around these docks. And somebody did the same thing, came running out from the house, behind the house to the dock, and started raising Cain with them, and told them they can't be there and they can't fish there, and they hadn't even so much as touched the dock. Well, then they went back to the house in the yard, and they picked up concrete cinder blocks.
Oh, man.
And they came out on the dock, and they tossed the cinder blocks in the water to make, you know, splashes and obviously run the fish off. But those people got charged. I'll go ahead and read how it's worded, but it says, you can't intentionally within a publicly or privately owned wildlife management area, a fish management area, or any state-owned water body interfere with or attempt to prevent the lawful taking of fish, game, or non-game animals by another person. Attempting to disturb fish, game, or non-game animals or affect their behavior with the intent to prevent their lawful taking is unlawful. So bottom line is, if someone goes to those lengths to harass, interfere, you've probably seen stories where up north where anti-hunters will go through the woods and they'll be banging pots and pans. Well, that's why these laws are written. You can't interfere with someone lawfully attempting to take fish or game in the state of Florida, and I'm sure other states have the same kind of statute. So, but back to the original question by him, it's not unlawful to run your mouth and intimidate people, or...
But she could have hollered and all that, so, but...
Right. She would have had to have done something else to afford, you know, a charge, and that would have been something to disturb or affect the fishing, other than just yapping at him.
I'm in a unique situation. I have a dock, and yet I like to fish around other people's docks, so I know both sides of the road. And,
right.
And when I see people come fishing my dock, I wait till they get. I let them fish it. When they go by, sometimes I walk out there and wave at them and ask them how they're doing. All, you know, do they catch anything and all that. I've never told anybody to get away from my dock.
You know, they're not hurting anything.
Yeah, I know.
They're recreating. Yeah. The fish, it's structure, so the fish are going to come and go. You know, they're not going to catch all of them under there, and there'll never be any, you know, come back. Yeah. So it's hard to understand, but, you know, it happens.
Yeah. Well, I've had a kid, I know his parents probably sent him out fishing on a dock up in Lynn Haven. It's happened 2 different times, so I know it's done intentionally. He'll come out on his dock, and he'll start throwing rocks in the water. And so I know, and you know, he won't even look at it. He just starts throwing rocks. So I got the same dog every time. So I just go on past it. But anyway.
And that's what I would do too. Yeah. But we do have a statute that covers that, and we would probably start with an educational approach first.
Yeah, I understand.
You know.
Okay, we have some more good questions and good situations. Let's take this break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to here with Captain Ken Paramore, clarifying a lot of these situations outdoorsmen we all need to know. I got an email today from Marcus Parrish, and I'm going to give you 2 situations, part A and part B. I won't tell you which part Marcus played, but one, he was with a group of his friends, hunting buddies, and one group thought that you could, if you shot and wounded a deer, that it's okay to put your gun down at somebody's property line, put it down, and go into that property, trail your deer and get it. Now another group said, no, you cannot go past that fence line. So sort of clarify that as far as trespassing and all.
There's a misconception there about putting the gun down and leaving it before you go on, and that's in the old days. That was to prevent you from being charged with a felony of carrying the firearm onto the property to go look for the deer. So people had the misconception that, or maybe it wasn't a misconception, but they thought that as long as they left the gun outside, if they went in on the property and they were confronted by the landowner or the leasee, that it would be a simple trespass issue and there wouldn't be a charge. Technically, anytime you cross or go on property of another without permission, if it's fenced, posted, or under agriculture, which up here, these pine tree forests and planted pine properties meet the agricultural part of that. So you cannot go at all on anyone else's property without permission. That's the bottom line. The difference is if you leave the gun, it's a misdemeanor. If you take the gun, it could be construed to be a felony. Most of the time, we enforce the laws based on intent. And if they've shot and wounded a deer and they go on the property, we can't tell them they can go. They need to go find the landowner, find somebody with a dog. It's up to the landowner whether or not he'll let you go ahead and take the gun in with you. And, especially if the deer's still wounded, you're going to have a means to knock it down again. But you just can't go without permission and asking. And the only difference of leaving the gun or taking the gun is felony or misdemeanor.
Okay.
If the landowner chose to prosecute.
Okay. So the best thing to do is find that landowner and just ask them, tell them the situation. And most landowners I know, they're going to say,
Right.
yeah, go in there and get that deer. And sometimes they'll come back with you and all.
And it's up to the person if it's worth the risk.
Do they need written permission right there
They're
from the
supposed to have
landowner?
it, or at least a means to get in touch with so we could verify.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Number and all.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a lot of people I've known over the years that went to the fence and said, whoops, we can't go any further. And that was just unfortunate for them and the deer. But it's also not worth, a trip to jail or getting a ticket to have to go to court.
Okay.
Even though you had good intentions. A lot of landowners, there's a zero tolerance for them. They don't want you there.
Marcus, you get with those boys, y'all pay off that bet y'all have with each other, because one group was adamant, the other group was adamant. So, okay, that takes care of that.
And to meet the posting, the signs have to have the person's name on them, and they need to be at least 500 feet apart. If it's posted, the fence is obvious, a fence is a fence. And if it's got any planted trees, whether it be an orchard, a grove, planted pines, it meets that, and they don't have to have anything. Okay. It doesn't have to be fenced or posted. So that's the posted statute.
Okay, all right.
With Thanksgiving coming, let's talk about hunter safety. As you all know, it's been months since we've had people with guns in the woods, and everybody's excited about going. And I told a story a year or two ago on here about a Thanksgiving day that, actually it was the day after Thanksgiving, that I had the misfortune of having to work a hunting accident where an 11-year-old boy was shot by his friend, and he left us. So that wasn't fun for me as a parent, and it wasn't for me as an officer having to work it and see and be around and try to console the grieving family. So my mission is to promote hunter education and hunter safety as often and as best as we can to try to prevent stuff like that from happening, because it's not pleasant. So children with firearms, they need to be under the supervision of an adult if they're under the age of 16. If they're 16 or older and they're hunting, they can hunt by themselves. But if they're under 16, they have to be supervised, and that doesn't mean by afar. That means supervised. The only way you can supervise children is to be where you can control them. And it's not via radio, it's not via cell phone, and it's not being 300 yards away in another tree stand. So that's just...
Yeah, that's true. They got to be there with you.
The way it is.
That's just good common sense, too.
Right, and we want to prevent accidents. So obviously everybody needs their license and permits. The kids have to have their hunter education. And I'll throw this out there, not to be forceful or mean, but it is a felony to knowingly allow someone under 16 to possess a firearm, whether it be hunting or otherwise. So we don't need that consequence for the parents. We just want them to be safe. Probably the biggest thing, other than having someone accidentally shot, would be tree stand falls.
Yeah.
And a personal experience with me just 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine that I've known for 30 years, almost 33 years, she fell out of a tree stand in Georgia while hunting one afternoon, and she broke her pelvis.
Oh, man.
And she laid there on the ground for an hour or two before, it gets dark, and then everybody realizes, well, she hasn't come in yet, so they go looking, and she's laying on the ground with a broken pelvis.
Oh.
And she had a concussion. It knocked her earrings. She hit so hard her earrings came out of her ears.
Oh, man.
And they had to take her, and and she was hospitalized for over a week. So the bottom line is these tree stands and harnesses and I'm bad about not wearing them, I'll be the first to say it, but after hearing stories like this, you want to encourage the use of a harness when you're in a tree stand, because you could have, you might have hunted all your life, but if you slip, if you lose your balance, I don't really know yet, haven't talked to her other than on Facebook as to how she fell,
yeah.
But we all are subject to falling down at times, and so harnesses and tree stand safety is, other than gun safety, is probably the next most important.
That is a big weekend for all of that, so we all want to be careful. All right, let's take a final break and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Sitting with Captain Ken Paramore. Before we get back to him, let's look at our fish and game forecast for today. And if you want to find out about Thanksgiving, check the website. It has all those times on there. Now, we're looking at today at 6:53 a.m. to 8:53. An excellent time to go this morning, and tonight from 7:16 to 9:16. So those are our two times. Brought to us by Mark Cowart of Edgewater Beach Realty, 832-6000. Give Mark a call for any real estate needs. All right, we'll
do a little salt water.
Let's do salt water, because people are always asking about the steam plant canal, the rules and the boundaries and all that. So let's do that first.
Steam plant is actually called Warren Bayou, and it's closed until the end of February. So November, December, January, February, close to taking a marine life. And where that becomes confusing is people go in with good intentions of catching and releasing fish, but they don't think about cast net and finger mullet or pinfish or whatever the smaller bait fish could be in there to take and use for bait. And so that in and of itself is not legal as well.
So they cannot cast net for any bait in there?
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, there's no provision for netting bait.
Yeah.
The way the rule reads, it just says you can't take marine life. So they're all lumped in together.
You can't take anything out of there. It's a bicky rig or whatever and put on there, because that's taking it out of the water.
Yeah, you're taking it.
A lot of people don't understand that.
Right. Okay. And one of our joint friends of ours that has been known to poach over the years, he asked me that question the other day. So I got to keep him straight.
All right.
So, so we keep an open line of communication.
That's
so
a
he don't get in
full-time
trouble.
job, keeping him straight. I'm telling you. I think y'all know who we're talking about.
Yeah, and we're just joking. Grouper closes December 4th, so there's only another week left of grouper, gag grouper, off our coastline here. So that'll pretty much wrap it, except for amberjack and like the beeliners, and so our fishing season's about had it. But we got one more week of grouper.
Okay.
And it's been so rough, nobody's gone, but it is open one more week. CWD real quick, chronic wasting disease. Remind everybody that goes up north or out west not to bring back meat with bone in it, or heads with soft tissue, i.e. brains in it, for mounting. There's 21 states listed, and it's in our hunting handbook, and it's online with the 21 states listed that it's illegal to bring back deer with soft tissue or bone to prevent our state from getting CWD, which is chronic wasting disease, which will deplete and wipe out our deer herd. And a lot of people, Kansas is one, Missouri's one, Illinois is one,
and a lot of folks
Texas
go to those places,
is one.
right? Yeah, those four.
And those people, we have a lot of people here go there, and just don't bring you can cape them out, bring back the hide, bone out the hams and shoulders. You can bring back meat, but you need to cape out that head with a cape and cut the horns off to bring them back legally. And our taxidermists are the ones who get put in a pickle because, if somebody shows up at their doorstep and they've come from Illinois and they've got a head and he's reluctant to take it because it's not legal to bring in, but yet he wants to take it because that's his business.
Yeah.
So it puts them in kind of a spot too. So that's CWD.
Our case of the month, you want to talk about a case of the month?
Yeah, we can talk about our case of the month. We try to do that once a month. But just this past weekend, one of our officers, Mike Guy, our canine officer, he ran into a field that was being shot up in Jackson County, and they were hammering away at the doves. So he got a few other officers together, and they went into the field, and there was 10 or 12 people on the field, and they were just having a big time, you know, and doves were flying everywhere. So unbeknownst to the hunters, the officer kind of knew that the bait was there. And so when he went in the field, he gathered up all their licenses, and he had them all meet up out in the middle of the field where he knew that there was probably bait had been distributed, and got them all out in the middle of the field. And he asked them, I thought he did a good job. He said, if y'all look around here real quick, is there anything here that you can see that might be a problem? And of course everybody hung their heads, and they're standing in piles of cracked corn. And then to top it off, as most of y'all know who have chickens and feed chickens and other fowl, that corn chops are bagged cracked corn by name, and there was a tag off of one of the bags laying on the ground there by the piles that they had distributed of the cracked corn, which doesn't occur naturally anyway. Yep. Cracked corn and bird seeds are two of the worst that we have that are baited with. So cracked corn and the corn chops tag was laying there where they were standing. So about 12 people left there with tickets that day, and
that'll be on their permanent record, I guess.
Hunting doves over bait.
Wildlife violator and all.
Yeah.
And when will they ever learn that you can't shoot over baited field? Yeah.
We try to educate, and I guess it just makes it easier, and it makes for fun shooting. But
yeah.
It's not.
Those days are gone.
It's not legal.
All right, we got a few seconds left. Any closing thing? We got.
I want to wish everybody out there from Fish and Wildlife happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next month.
Yeah. And y'all don't break the law, because we know what the law is. We get it clarified every day. We don't, 90-some% of us are good.
Oh yeah, over 90% obey.
So that's good.
And be safe.
Yeah, and be safe. Well, Ken, as always, appreciate you coming on.
Pleasure.
You have a good Thanksgiving.
You too. Enjoyed it.
Don't eat too much turkey.
No. Okay. I try not to.
And folks, we'll see y'all tomorrow morning. We're gonna come in early for Thanksgiving, have a good show for you. But today, now I know everybody's busy, but you do something good for somebody. You have a great day. God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.